All right, let's jump right into today's explainer. We're looking at one of the most secretive, extensive, and frankly, astounding intelligence operations in modern history. We're going to impartially break down the timeline, the tactics, and the sheer scale of a 20-year campaign known as Operation Wrath of God. This was a highly classified shadow war carried out by Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad. It crossed international borders and utilized espionage techniques that still have intelligence experts taking notes today.
But before we get into the timeline of what sparked all of this, I want you to picture this chilling signature. According to the source material, Mossad would sometimes send their targets a beautiful bouquet of flowers along with a condolence card, exactly 1 hour before they were eliminated. Inside that card was this exact message. Remember, we neither forget nor forgive. It was a highly calculated psychological tactic, literally designed to strike absolute fear into a target just moments before the end.
And there was another really distinct, calculated element to these hits. The agents wouldn't just neutralize a target, they would often fire exactly 11 bullets into them. Now, that wasn't just some random number. It was a stark, numerical tribute to the inciting incident of this entire story, a tragic event that left 11 Israelis dead.
Section 1. The Munich Olympics Massacre.
So, to understand the sheer scale of Israel's retaliation, we have to look objectively at the crisis that started it all. Let's rewind to September 5th, 1972. West Germany had framed the Munich Olympics as the Games of Peace and Joy, and because of that, they kept security deliberately relaxed. Well, at 4:30 in the morning, 8 militants from the Palestinian group Black September, disguised in tracksuits, scaled the 10-foot fence of the Olympic Village. They breached the Israeli quarters, immediately killing 2 athletes who tried to fight back, and took 9 others hostage. After a grueling, tense standoff all day, the situation moved to a military airport, and that's where a severely mismanaged rescue attempt by West German snipers ended in absolute disaster.
The statistics from that botched rescue were just brutal. All 11 Israeli athletes were killed during the chaos, along with 5 of the militants. 3 of the terrorists were captured alive. Now, their initial demand had been the release of 234 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails, but Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir completely rejected it, holding strict to a policy against negotiating with hostage-takers. The resulting tragedy understandably sent shockwaves through Israel, and the public was demanding swift, severe justice.
Section 2. Planning the retaliation.
And first, Israel responded with conventional military bombings on Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO targets. But they knew the masterminds were still out there, so Prime Minister Golda Meir authorized a highly classified shadow war, a top-secret hit list of 35 individuals. Here's the catch. Because these targets were scattered all across Europe and the Middle East, Mossad would have to operate within the borders of sovereign nations without their permission. That's a huge deal. It risked massive diplomatic fallout and global condemnation, so absolute, flawless secrecy was mandatory.
To pull this off seamlessly, intelligence officer Michael Harari put together a team of 15 agents, structured into 5 highly specialized units named after Hebrew letters. The compartmentalization here is mind-blowing. Aleph was made up of 2 trained killers. Bet provided backup. Het managed all the logistics, booking hotels, getting rental cars. Ayin was a larger team of 6 to 8 agents dedicated purely to tracking the targets and planning escape routes. And finally, Kof managed all communications. They all traveled on fake passports, forming this perfectly self-sustaining assassination machine.
Section 3. Executing Operation Wrath.
These units were incredibly methodical. They tracked their targets across various countries and actually adapted their methods to fit each target's specific daily routine. For example, in Rome, Weil's waiter was gunned down with that signature 11 bullets. But in Paris, they got creative. Mahmoud Hamshari was lured out of his apartment by an agent posing as an Italian journalist. While he was gone, agents rigged his telephone with an explosive, and they literally detonated it later when he answered a call. In Cyprus, Hussein al-Bashir was killed by a bomb planted right under his hotel bed. So Mossad was utilizing everything from close-quarters gunfire to highly complex remote explosives.
But just as Mossad is making their way down this list, a massive curveball hits. In late October 1972, a Lufthansa flight gets hijacked. The hijackers demand the release of the 3 surviving Munich attackers being held in West Germany. And the German government actually complies and releases them. As you can imagine, this completely infuriated Israel and put those 3 men directly back onto Mossad's active hit list.
And the tension wasn't just one-sided either. The mastermind behind Black September, Ali Hassan Salameh, was planning his own devastating retaliation. In a wildly audacious move, he smuggled Strela-2 missiles into Rome, fully planning to shoot down Prime Minister Golda Meir's plane when she visited the Pope.
To create a distraction, his associates even staged a hostage situation at the Israeli embassy in Bangkok. Thankfully, Mossad tipped off the Italian anti-terror police, and they intercepted the missile-loaded vans just in time.
Building on that momentum, April 1973 brings us one of the absolute boldest moves of the entire operation. 3 top leaders were living in a heavily guarded 7-story building in Beirut. A female Mossad agent, codenamed Nielsen, infiltrated the area by posing as a TV researcher and rented an apartment just to monitor their routines. Then, 14 Israeli commandos arrived by sea. And get this, some were actually wearing wigs and fully disguised as women. They stormed the building, eliminated the 3 targets, and in the massive gunfight that followed, killed roughly 100 militants. It just goes to show the sheer uncompromising scale of this retaliation.
Section 4. The Lillehammer Mistake.
Up until now, Mossad's absolute secrecy had been their shield. But in July 1973, they hit a devastating roadblock. Mossad received intelligence that the elusive mastermind Ali Hassan Salameh was hiding out in the small town of Lillehammer, Norway. But it was a trap. Salameh had deliberately fed them false intelligence. On July 21st, Mossad agents gunned down a man they fully believed was Salameh. Tragically, the victim was Ahmed Bouchiki, a completely innocent Moroccan waiter. The real-world stakes of international espionage quickly caught up to them. Norwegian police immediately cordoned off the area and arrested 6 Mossad agents. During the interrogations, the entirety of Operation Wrath of God was exposed to the world. Though the unit leader, Michael Harari, somehow managed to escape, 5 agents were sentenced to prison. The diplomatic backlash was just immense, and a deeply criticized Golda Meir was forced to immediately suspend the entire operation.
Section 5. Hunting the Mastermind.
So for 4 years, the operation lies completely dormant. But the primary architect of the Munich massacre, Ali Hassan Salameh, is still out there breathing free air, having successfully humiliated Mossad. That all changed in 1977 when Menahem Begin was elected prime minister. The lingering sting of the Lillehammer disaster, combined with the fact that Salameh was still at large, prompted Begin to order the reactivation of the shadow war. And this time they had a singular focus: track down the mastermind.
They eventually tracked Salameh back to Beirut. And if you think espionage is always about high-speed chases and shootouts, consider that patience was actually Mossad's greatest weapon here. In November 1978, they sent a female agent posing as a British citizen to rent an apartment right on Rue Verdun, a street Salameh commuted down every single day. For months, she did absolutely nothing but sit at her window, quietly observing and documenting his exact routines.
Eventually, 2 more agents arrived using British and Canadian passports. They parked a car packed to the brim with explosives right along that commute route, in perfect view of the female agent's apartment. Finally, on January 22, 1979, at 3:35 p.m., and by the way, this was Mossad's 6th attempt to kill him, Salameh's convoy drove past. The agent remotely detonated the car bomb, killing Salameh and his 4 bodyguards. The Munich massacre's primary architect was finally gone.
But even with Salameh gone, Operation Wrath of God quietly continued right into the 1980s. Mossad kept dismantling terrorist networks by systematically eliminating top commanders from the PLO, Black September, and the Palestinian political party Fatah across cities like London, Paris, and Athens. Notably, they also managed to track down and kill 2 of the 3 original Munich attackers who had been released during that 1972 Lufthansa hijacking. Yet, despite executing hundreds of operations over a 20-year span, Mossad didn't get everyone. One of the original Munich perpetrators, Jamal al-Gashey, managed to slip through the cracks of history. After surviving multiple assassination attempts, he went deep into hiding. He famously surfaced only one time, with his face completely obscured, for the 1999 documentary One Day in September.
Operation Wrath of God decimated the leadership of Black September and definitely showcased the staggering, almost unbelievable reach of Israeli intelligence. But it also effectively wrote the modern playbook for covert retaliation, and that came at an immense cost. Innocent lives were lost, international relations were strained, and it spanned 2 whole decades of relentless violence. Looking back at the sheer scale, the incredible lengths they went to for retribution, and the decades of fallout, what do you think is the ultimate legacy and the true cost of a blood-for-blood strategy?